More than 4,100 overseas exhibitors from 155 countries, regions and international organizations are in Shanghai in an effort to boost global trade and collaboration. This year's event features 461 new products, technologies and services. In his keynote address, Chinese Premier Li Qiang said the China International Import Expo, or CIIE, serves as a gateway for the global economy to access the Chinese market.
5 years ago in Shanghai, at the celebration of the 30th anniversary of the development and opening up of Pudong, President Xi Jinping noted that the Chinese economy is like an ocean, and so is the world economy. And oceans of the world are all interconnected. As a showcase of China's new paradigm of development, a platform for high-standard opening up, and a public good for the world, the CIIE is both the place where the world economy meets the Chinese economy and an important bridge linking China with the world.
Joining us now is Liang. She's a chair professor in economics at Willamette University. Liang, thanks so much for being with us. You are Great to have you. You are in Shanghai. This is the 8th China International Import Expo. It provides a platform for manufacturers from something like 155 countries. And China is also utilizing this gathering as an international showcase and an effort to collaborate with others. Where do you see the benefits for both China and its international partners?
Well, I think this is really a great platform. It has a lot of, I would say symbolic values because it showcases that China is committed to continuously, opening up and attracting, more investors to come to China, and also encourage more foreign, exporters to sell their products to China. So I think that's a firm commitment. It's also indicated in, Premier Li's speech that there are two certainties. China is certain to develop, but China is also has a certainty to opening up. So I think that really instill the sense of stability and confidence to the world through this platform. And second is I think there are substantive, meaning because many of the investors or exporters, they come to China, they're able to sign deals with the Chinese, buyers and Chinese, investors. So I think it's a great place for them to make these kinds of business deals. And also, as you mentioned, to showcase the latest products, because this is a platform where many companies debut their new products, right? Tech products, consumer products, and so on and so forth. So I do think that this is a great place for this kinds of exchanges and cooperation.
China's trade surplus is expected to surpass last year's record $1 trillion. Premier Li Qiang said Beijing was resolute about supporting globalization. He also said China would work towards reforming the global economic and trading system to ensure more equitable and transparent trade practices. In practical terms, what does that look like?
Well, I think what China has done is really, talk the talks and also walk the walk. As we know, recently, the global trading system was pretty much under attack, with a lot of unilateral protectionism. So I think what China is trying to do is to promote some institutional changes in the sense of signing, FTAs, the free trade agreements with many countries, and also provide policy support to facilitate trade. For example, lowering the tariff to zero for 43 African countries, and also to build a lot of connectivities with the rest of the world. This is both digital but also physical connectivity. So I think through China's actions, right, both institutional changes, policy support, as well as these connectivity building, I think this really showcased that China is committed to the so-called high-level opening, trying to open China's market to the rest of the world, but also encourage Chinese businesses to export their, excellent products to the rest of the world and invest in other countries to localize their supply chain, to build factories abroad. So I think it's really to, engage with the world in a meaningful and mutually beneficial way. And I think that is really the essence of many of these activities to promote the so-called high-level opening.
Right, you mentioned connectivity. I mean, to what extent does China integrate its different policy platforms? If we look at something like its outreach to the developing world, how does that integrate with its other policies of the Belt and Road Initiative, for instance?
Right. So as you can see, there's, I would say, a lot of synergies between all of this different policies. So this year's CIIE, as you mentioned earlier, there were 155 countries participating, and among which 123 are from the Belt and Road Initiative countries. So as China built ports, railways, roads to connect many of these countries, it allowed these countries to more conveniently to trade with China. There is also a lot of connectivity in the sense of, China's providing technical support, assistance to many of the countries to meet the China's import standards. And I think these are really important.
Of course, there are challenges. Premier Li referred to some of them. He condemned the rise in tariffs in international trade, noting that they had, and I'm quoting him here, seriously undermined international economic and trade rules and disrupted the normal operations of enterprises. But despite these tensions, especially with the United States, China's exports continued to grow in the first 9 months of this year. When we look at the figures, they were up 7.1% from the same period last year. How has China managed to grow this trade, grow its exports at a time of economic and that kind of tariff uncertainty that we see?
Right. Well, I think for China, they're really working on two dimensions. One is to upgrade their trade in terms of structures, right? They're able to export a lot of electrical equipment, electronics equipment, and products, and also new energy products, new green tech, green products, and all of these have met with increasing demand from the rest of the world. So I think that really showcased, China's export competitiveness, that they're able to continue to upgrade their products and get more value added, and to be able to provide a variety of high quality products at competitive prices. So this, I think, is very important for China's export success. And second, of course, is China has been diversifying its trading partners and its trading destinations. So, even though in the first 9 months, China's exports to the United States has gone down by 27%, but as you mentioned, its exports to Africa, to Europe, to Latin America, many other places have gone up, especially Southeast Asia countries as well. And so that really offset the decline in exports to the United States, right, to achieve that 7.1% overall export growth. So I think by diversifying China's trading partners, by the way, the U.S.'s export share now of China's total export is now around only 10%. So with this both, right, upgrading its trade structure, diversifying its trade partners, I think China is able to weather through the kind of unilateral trade tariff war from the United States. And again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, China is making many efforts to achieve those two goals, to build connections with the rest of the world through institutional changes, policy support, and platform building. So I think that really demonstrates China's resilience in promoting its exports. I also wanted to add that, China last year also imported $2.59 trillion worth of products. I think as China continues to grow its economy and as the consumers, are increasing in their demand for high quality products from other countries, I think China represents really a sizable and growing market for the rest of the world as well.
Now, China has benefited greatly from globalization as well as its membership in the World Trade Organization. It joined that organization in 2001. If we look at the next 5 years, its economy is projected to exceed $23.9 trillion. Talk to us about that and China's opening up strategy and the impact it could have on the overall economy.
Right. So as you rightly noted, that China's development is benefited through this kind of multilateral rule-based trading system. And of course, China does not adopt the simple neoliberal kind of opening up, right? It does open up in a graduate and also, I would say, measured way. Now that China is at the stage where it's able to share more, its sort of prosperity and development success with the rest of the world, I think that is why China is firmly committed to the kinds of gradual gradual opening up and the multilateral system, and that's why China is, trying its best to defend this kinds of system and really make trade work for development. So as you probably know, that recently China renounced sort of the preferential treatment as a developing country at the WTO. So I think this is again an example where China sees the opportunities that it has got during its development stage, and now it wants to share that with the rest of the world. So I think China now is also firmly committed not only to continue to opening up, to defend the multilateral system, but it's also engaged in the reform. Because the WTO system is, in many ways, have been, outdated, right? It doesn't have very clear and developmental friendly policies when it comes to, subsidies issues, when it comes to sustainable issues, when it comes to industrial policies at, the developing countries level. So I think this is the next step that China is going to try work with the many developing countries, right, the global South countries, to reform the WTO rules. So then it would help trade to really serve the purpose of sustainable development. So it's not a sort of a blind and sort of just promote free trade at all cost, but really trying to utilize trade, to harness trade for development purposes.
China is a world leader in the production of green technologies. It's made huge advances in wind turbines and things like solar panels, as well as electric vehicles. It's now the world's biggest manufacturer and exporter of electric vehicles. And if we look at CIIE, where you are right now, this is the third consecutive year that it is fully powered by renewable energy. What are the opportunities that green technology offers, not just for China, but for the export market as well?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So, these green transformation has provided great opportunities for China's own development. As you know, the so-called new three, the NEVs, the battery, and the solar panels, used to account about 10% of the Chinese GDP, and now it's been growing. It's almost 18% when it comes to this kind of a new economy that is driven by green tech, and green products and green energies. So I think China is now also sharing its green products with the rest of the world. As we know, the solar panel price has gone down by over 90% in the past 2 decades, thanks to China's innovation, but also very large-scale, efficient production. So I think that really helped to produce a cost-effective green solutions to the rest of the world. We know, for example, in Africa, 60% of the population does not have reliable electricity. So the matter of fact is that China is exporting many of these green products, right, the green energies, to the rest of the world to enable them to build their renewable energy sources. And so that is very important for the development. My colleagues at the Global Policy GDP Center has also found that China's exports of the so-called low-carb technologies has effectively helped many countries to lower their carbon emissions. So I think, combining two, getting access to renewable energies that are cost-effective, and also help to make their economies more sustainable, reduce the toll on their environment. I think China is really making great contributions to the rest of the world to help them or facilitate the green transitions and the path towards sustainable development.
Yan Liang, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
There's much more to cover. Let's get to our panel. Andy Mock is a senior research fellow with the Center for China and Globalization. John Quelch serves as Executive Vice Chancellor and American President at Duke Kunshan University, and Xi Qiang is the Assistant Director of the International Monetary Institute at Renmin University of China. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Xi Qiang, let me start with you. There's a record number of exhibitors at this year's CIIE. It's a big market opportunity for the world, and it comes at a time when we see these trade tensions rising around the world, caused mainly by the United States imposing tariffs on most of its trading partners. But still, how does CIIE promote global trade liberalization?
Well, Anand, I think currently we really need one stability and certainty in the whole world market. I think that can be provided by Chinese, market demand. if you take a look at the current numbers of the Federal Reserve, you will find out that all the pillars the American economy has been relying on has been infringed very much currently. I think the job loss is a phenomenon, and also the cutting of the spendings for the middle income classes is also very, very serious, which keep on people questioning about the very important pillar of the demand of the whole world market, American market. How is it doing and where is it going? So at this very uncertain moment, if one country, another very important economy can stand out and provide a rather certain demand for the whole world, I think that can be really important right now. So if you take a look at the Shanghai, the CIIE, you will find out there being, hundreds of countries that coming in, and also thousands of very important suppliers and producers also coming in. And out of the Fortune 500, almost half of them have been setting up the kiosk or positions in the whole exhibition. So which shows that everybody are paying attention to this very important market. While China right now have 1.4 billion population and more than 400 million of the middle income class, and the number has also been rising as well as for the GDP per capita for every Chinese. So I think this market cannot be forgotten, and also can never be ignored. So I think this is a very important message provided by the CIIE. And plus, I think that there are so many other high end of the product has been showing in here. It shows that Chinese market has been upgrading in whole economic structure, providing more of the quality jobs, and it can be translated into further increasing income for all the families and households. So I think this is the potential in the future that everybody should really pay attention to.
John Quelch, the Chinese Premier Li Qiang, he described CIIE as an estuary through which the world economy flows into China. And as I said, it comes at a time when there's a great deal of uncertainty in trade relationships around the world, and there's an erratic environment. A lot of this caused by the tariffs that have been imposed by the United States on most of its trading partners. Still, if we look at this expo, U.S. enterprises continue to occupy the largest amount of space at this gathering. What does that tell us about the importance that U.S. corporations and companies attach to this market?
And although there has been a reduction in the U.S.-China trade surplus over the past year, there's no doubt that the efforts to decouple or de-risk have taken hold, but not to the extent that the entire arrangements between the U.S. and China are eliminated. And so we do see many U.S. companies still embedded in China, a very important market, as has previously been said. I would also add that China needs to increase domestic consumption, and this effort to attract so many potential vendors who could sell into the China market is partially directed towards boosting internal China consumption and reducing the approximately $1 trillion trade surplus that China ran in 2024 with the rest of the world.
Andy Mock, China is accelerating its digital, intelligence and industrial transformation, and global technology leaders are showing how AI, artificial intelligence, is moving into daily life, and that's happening very quickly. Of course, the Expo's other big highlight is what's known as the low-altitude economy, dominated by flying cars and heavy-weight drones. What can you tell us about how CIIE fosters technological growth, sustainable technological growth?
Well, Nan, I think if we look at this from the context of contemporary history, this clearly shows China moving from the workshop of the world, where it was producing largely lower-end products at very competitive prices, moving up the value chain to becoming a technology leader in areas like electric vehicles, solar panels, et cetera, and of course in drones, which play a key part of the low-altitude economy. And I think what this shows us is that many companies, as we've just heard, American companies in particular, are coming to China, of course, because of the market, but I think also because they see the future being created here and they don't want to be left out, whether that's in artificial intelligence, whether that's in the low altitude economy, electric vehicles, of course, as I mentioned. And I think some of the industries of the future, including robotics, quantum computing, life sciences, which we, of course, have seen some exciting developments in the past year with a number of global pharma companies striking partnerships with Chinese companies that have achieved breakthroughs in cancer treatments and other very, very important pharmaceutical products.
Xu Xiang, the CIIE has established itself as a platform for cooperation, as a platform for international trade. And it also is an event that really embodies China's commitment to openness in its economy. And if you look at some of the numbers here, roughly 23,000 exhibitors have participated in the past 7 expos, and they've delivered a total transaction volume of $500 billion. To what do you attribute CIIE's success?
Well, actually, from the number I just described, yes, sheer size, sheer volume, absolutely a very important success for the whole world market. Well, China has been for several years to be the #2 importers of the whole world, which shows China's commitment when its economy has already been upgraded. It's not just want to do a producer, seller to the world market to make sure that the world supply chain is stable, but also we want to make sure that the world demand chain is been stable as well. So people in China as well want to upgrade their living standard, have a quality life. That's the reason why they've been keeping on buying the good things from the outside world, like the caviar from Russia, like the ham from the Spain, and also the high technology product from Germany, and also the plane part from the United States of America. And I also, in Chinese view, like Andy just mentioned, I think no matter it's AI or low altitude economy, in Chinese view, it's a win-win result. Even if China has been triumphing in many of this kind of technology, but still there are room for every trade partners to work with each other together. For example, a low altitude economy, not just flying cars, as like the drones are flying over the skies. It's more than that. It's whole different lifestyle. It's like just when iPhone has been invented, it's not just another phone. It's a whole lifestyle. It's a whole ecology of the businesses, live streaming, e-commerce. When the low altitude economy, when the AI has been kicked in, lots of new business model will be created, and China cannot do it alone. They will import a lot of the stuff like the business models, talents, important parts, and also vital products, and all this, supply chain and ecology of the businesses. So China think through this window of the CIIE, we can show the world what we can produce, what we can provide, and also which part you can pitch in and join in this win-win, result and the business model. So I think by all these means, we're not only just buy the simple things, buy luxuries, buy the good stuff, but also we're trying to invite in everybody to come into China by reaching out wider.
John Quelch, I mentioned in the introduction that China sees this expo as its business card to the world. Exhibitors have welcomed China's openness. It's led to more investments as well. How important is this, given the ongoing political tensions that we see in the world right now, especially trade tensions?
So, Anand, I think it's a very important affirmation of China's commitment to being a stabilizing force in the global trade scene these days, which obviously is quite turbulent. I think it's instructive just to remind everyone of the slogan associated with the 8th CIIE, which is New Era, Shared Future. And what this is telling us is that there is a new era in the global trading system. Trade is moving not nearly at a snail's pace anymore from the West to the global South, and China as the exemplar of how a global South country can make an amazing transition in economic terms. That example is one that's inspiring to many global South countries. And so I think the shared future concept that is expressed in the slogan also is reflected in the vast diversity of countries represented. Yes, the Fortune 500 are still heavily represented, but there is a vast expansion in terms of the diversity of products and countries of origin that we see at the CIIE this year.
Andy Mock, for the first time, dedicated areas have been set aside at the Expo this year for least developed countries. This includes the 53 African countries who are tapping into the zero tariff regime that's been implemented by China. And of course, it also offers them enormous opportunities to get into the Chinese market as well. What does this mean for those countries?
Well, Anand, I think this is a very important opportunity for these countries because this is precisely the issue. They have access to a large, growing, increasingly discriminating market, meaning consumers wanting new experiences, new products. But I think if we step back and look at this, I think what is really happening, again, I think John made a great point, this is the new era. And it's a new era in the sense of this is the post-Western model of globalization, because China is not just offering a new market to countries in Africa and all around the world, but I think through this institutional opening up, it's actually reforming regulations, laws, standards to align globally. And I think this again shows that this is opening up at a much deeper level that is making it easier for countries, whether they're in Africa, Europe, or North America, to access the China market. And I think China really is making a bet, and I think a very smart bet here, that credibility and predictability are just as valuable as market access, tangible market access, and that increasingly many countries around the world will also start adopting these standards, these ways of doing business, and I think that will benefit the world as a whole.
John Quelch, in view of the very tough tariff regime that's being implemented right now by President Trump and the U.S. administration, do you sense that there are new trading alignments that are coming about, new trading partnerships, as countries, especially in the developing world, seek alternative markets, more stable markets? And when we look at it in that view, how important is CIIE towards reaching those goals?
Well, we're seeing many initiatives around new trading blocks. They're in some cases experimental and not necessarily ingrained in stone yet. But just to take the BRICS as one example, this is obviously Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, but now with 6 more countries added to that roster, it's becoming a much more potentially formidable alliance around not just trade relationships, but also governance as well of the global trading system. So I think we're going to see more of these efforts, largely experimental, and the CIIE is not just a venue for selling. It's also a venue for connecting. And many of the vendors that are at CIIE are not only selling into the China market, but they're also meeting other people from other countries who are there as well and establishing trading partnerships with them as a secondary benefit from attending the CIIE.
Okay, and that is where we have to leave it. Thank you to all of you for being with us. And that is it for this edition of The Heat. I'm Anand Naidu in Washington.